Hello, Uganda. Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Hotseat on 933 KFM. I welcome you, our listeners, across this beautiful land, the Pearl of Africa. My name is Patrick Amara. Tonight, we'll be discussing a topic that is very important to almost every Ugandan, because this topic is about land. And so we're asking, are the technological innovations in land management a solution to land conflicts? You know, the land conflicts in Uganda everywhere. The land question is such a big question that has not been answered satisfactorily for most Ugandans. And the people I have in my studio this evening are all experts in the area of land management and the area of technological innovations. So they will be taking us through on how these innovations are helping in the management and are they a solution to the land conflicts that are so many across our country. So let me introduce my panel this Thursday evening. I have Mr. Chris Tembo, Senior Staff Surveyor and Chairman of the Standards Committee, Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development. Mr. Chris Tembo, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you so much. Good evening, listeners.
We have Len Victor Onyu, Head National Land Information Center. Len, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamara, and good evening, listeners.
We also have Managing Partner Kalukumutima and Company Advocates Council Deo Kalukumutima. Thank you so much for joining us, Deo.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and good evening, listeners.
Also with us this evening, we are honored to have another Assistant Commissioner, Land Registration, Brigadier Johnson. Thank you, Brigadier.
Thank you. Good evening, listeners.
Let me begin with you, Chris Tembo, because we're talking about innovations. Really, you know, outline for us in broad view of the land information system, its development over the years, and the major improvement it has brought to land administration in Uganda, because that's the big thing we have right now.
Thank you, Patrick. When you're talking about land administration, it's good to give a background. You know, for quite a long time, and probably until about 2010, we have been running a manual land administration system. So you find everything was run manually, the surveying, the land valuation, the physical planning. And so this had its own issues in as far as land administration was concerned. So over time, a system has been developed. A lot has gone into the development of this system. There were so many studies, which, by the way, go back up to about early 1990s. So this system, the studies went and found out what mess has gone in the land administration system, the challenges that we had, of course, running manual records. We used to lose some information because of the wear and tear of the paper. Of course, also when the system is manual, it is open to manipulation. So an idea came, how do we secure these records? And how do we secure the tenure security of the landowners? So with that background, that is how this system was developed. Of course, they had to study, first of all, the business processes that we had, to study the relevant laws which were operating. And with that, we now went on to the computerization stage. So that is basically how we developed this system. It was launched about 2013, so we're about slightly more than 10 years old. And that is where we are today.
So, Council Deo, I can imagine you as an office of court and land being such a very serious issue, so many conflicts about it, many conflicts in court and court cases. How is this helping in the management of court cases on matters of land, or maybe reducing? Is it a game changer in your view?
In my view, it is a big game changer. Mm-hmm. With globalization, we have the use of technology, we have innovation, so this is very welcome. The land information system has an interface, a platform interface with the judiciary, with URA, with URSB. So a judicial officer now, seated at their desk, can verify evidence without having to adjourn a case for months. If they have an expert witness before them, they are able to double check and confirm whether indeed Patrick Kamara is the registered proprietor. This we didn't have before. So with this we have, you know, with the courts we have our challenges. One of the big challenges is case backlog. Land division alone has plus or minus over 8,000 cases. So with such measures, through innovation, we are able to expedite the matters before court. Secondly, as a practitioner, this helps understanding property rights very fast. We have a very big issue of fraud, and under this we have impersonation. You have a deo kali kumutima, not in the strict sense of the word, holding out as such, fictitious person, but thanks to this interface again, because NIRA is also connected to the system, the registrars are able to verify whether they are dealing with the right people. Because at the end of the day, without this verification, it causes court case. So once these issues are managed at this stage, we reduce the bulk of what is going to the courts. So to a reasonable extent, this is a very good innovation. I can only pray that it is sustainable. Having the system today is one thing, sustaining it is another. If I may go to a bit of history very quickly. In 1900, Uganda had a population of only 2 million. At independence, 8 million, 1962. Now, I'm not going to go into the UBOS thing, but in my opinion, using metrics, scientific metrics, we are plus or minus between 50 to 60 million people. Now, as the population increases, remember the land is not increasing. With the global warming and floods and what, the land mass is actually reducing. We have a total land surface area of 241,000 that reduces. Now, Uganda has very fertile people. Mr. Patrick Kamara, you're a very fertile man, and your brothers. So fertility rate, though the statistics says it's now at 4.5, it is still high. It is still high. Now, once you have an increasing population, if you do not have enough land, what happens?
Of course, even the land you have, sometimes it may not be productive, it loses productivity, so it reduces.
It reduces.
It doesn't stay arable like it has been.
Yeah.
But let me go to Len, because I'm sure this technical innovation is also close to your heart. But speak for this innovation, if you could. So, Len, speak to this. Sorry, I was looking at the commissioner. To this innovation, I'm sure you're the technical person.
Yeah, thank you again, Mr. Kamara, and good evening, our listeners. Well, just as the Chairman Standards Committee, Mr. Chris Tembo, hinted earlier, it's been a process for the Ministry of Lands. I believe this is one of the ministries that has been in front of the press for all the wrong reasons for quite a long time now. But we are here to change that, and the reason why the objectives of this system were very simple. One, we needed to modernize how land management was being done, and this was how best can we transition from the manual-based process into an automated process, and we've been doing that for the last about 10 or so years, but we've been doing it from the back-end processes, because when we started the land information system, the plan was how do we automate our back-end processes first before we can actually show our hand to the public. So for the last 10 years, we've been automating all our processes from the back end.
So trying to digitize what you have, right?
Digitize what we already had, because we transformed what we had in manual form into the digital form. We also looked at how best we could reduce errors, duplications, and delays in land transactions, and this has happened because when you go out there now, you find that the turnaround time for registration of property has actually tremendously gone down. We're also looking at how best we could improve public access to reliable land records, and of course reducing corruption and disputes at that, but also facilitate better land tenure security, encourage investment and development. So all in all, this has led to faster, more efficient processes of land titles and transactions. But most importantly for us is that the reduction in issues like fraud, in leakages in revenue for government. Because what we did before was that when we're doing transactions, for example, if a property in Kololo was costing you about 1.5 billion shillings, actually someone would come with a fictitious receipt of stamp duty, and we had no way to verify. So we could actually transact on that property without verifying, and government would lose that 1.5% in revenue. But now we integrated with Uganda Revenue Authority, and the system interchecks between the two systems without requiring any physical appearance. So you find that in terms of leakages of revenue, the system has been able to close most of those gaps. We are looking at issues in regards to forgeries in terms of how someone looks. Someone would actually come up with a national ID, which was very perfect, and you find that you would actually transfer this property, but you're transferring it to a fraudster. Why? Because we were unable to verify who the owner in terms of pictorial evidence, but we integrated with NIRA to allow us pick all the data from NIRA in terms of the names of the person, but also in terms of the pictures. You're looking at companies. We had people who registered titles with companies that were non-existent, but we also integrated with URSB to ensure that we closed those gaps.
Commissioner Bagira, when you have a new program coming in most cases people have used the analog things for quite some time. How easy was it to change for everybody to conform to the new technology innovation that you have introduced?
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamara. Definitely, it's not a walk in the park. It was a process, but you see, before rolling it out in 2013, the people were trained. And over time, people have tried to perfect their skills at that. But also, the public has come to appreciate the benefits it has brought about. Okay? Previously, as you heard, we were operating a totally manual system, such that if one carried your file away, you would never trace it. Okay? So with this innovation, with this computerization, with the all of the other innovation that have come on board, we have found it so helpful. First for the office as an institution, but also to the entire government system that operates or drives many of the things from land. Maybe what they haven't told you is that apart from we, the users, the staff of the Ministry of Lands, they have told you how we have now linked with other entities. But now even the public, we have created a platform where they can also, freely serve themselves using these platforms.
Okay.
So it has not been easy, but over time, everybody's appreciating, and our staff are also mastering the operation of this system.
So they're talking about mastering the operation. You have a new innovation. You want to throw it to the public. Chris, is it user-friendly? Can people access this and use it? You've had almost 9 years to work on the back end to digitize and do that. You understand this. How about the public? How user-friendly is it?
Thank you, Patrick. The system has a very simplified user interface. So anyone with basic digital literacy, like somebody who can use a smartphone, can easily use this technology. So it is very, very simplified, so it is possible for the public to access. The other issue is that the system can be accessed on simple mobile devices, a phone, a tablet. So again, the public can access this very easily. Of course, the question normally comes, what about the local person who is down there? How do they access the system? We also have the support centers. At the EMSO, we have the local people can get onto the help desk, so they can be helped from there. And also, the ministry has what we call the open days. In fact, at the moment, there are several open days that are running. We interact with the public. Then they are trained and they can easily learn how to interact with this system. So it's quite easy for everyone. It's a simplified interface, and there are many efforts. There are also open hotlines. Somebody can call and ask for ways of how they can be guided through. So it's quite easy for everyone.
This is the public portal you're talking about, right?
Now, the public portal is actually a platform where the public relates with it. Yeah, so they can actually use this. That's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
These are the
so
devices.
The National Land Information System is different from the public portal, right?
No, public portal is a feature that is used within the National Land Information System. It is a way the public can access the system. Yeah? We have the public portal, but also the system is developing what we call the corporate portals, where a council like DEO can access the system.
Just a moment before we take a quick break, I just want you, Council Kaluku Mutima, with a lot of clarity and very briefly, if somebody was using the analog system and now you are on the automated system, maybe I have a case issue, how does that help? How do I transition from analog to?
Now, though a technical question that Lenny would answer, but I'm happy to answer. I must thank Ministry of Lands. I was one of the people in the private sector who were trained in 2012 before they rolled out the system. They digitized, they scanned the manual records into the system. Okay. However, they are running a hybrid. They did not discard the manual records. So either as a practitioner or anybody through the system will be able to access the same records. Now, like my brothers have said, the system is not perfect. So there may be a scenario where a record is missing. One or two glitches, errors happen in life. You still have access to the manual record.
As a backup.
As a backup. And these manual records are continuously indexed, put into the into the system.
Okay. Gentlemen, hold on to your points because you're going to take a break and the hot seat will be... Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the hot seat. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guest this evening, I have Commissioner Brigida Johnson, I have Mr. Chris Tembo, I have Mr. Lenin Victor Owunyo, and Council Deo Kalukumutima. And we're discussing the technological innovations in land management. Is it a solution to the land conflicts in Uganda? And these gentlemen are saying yes, it is, and they're trying to back it up with their experience and the evidence that they have. But when you, back in the day, would always come to Kampala. You have a land issue, you have to come to Kampala. So how far have you gone in trying to make sure you take these services nearer to the people? And how prepared or equipped are the people in the zone offices to handle these issues? And can they handle everything and complete it at the zone office?
Thank you, Mr. Kamara and our listeners. From 2013, the ministry, that's when they started rolling out this project. But we have been doing a number of reforms. So this technological reform is one of the reforms that the ministry has been doing. From 2013, we have now 22 ministerial zone offices, the one we normally call EMUZOs. Before that, every person who was looking for a land title would come to Kampala. Okay, save for a few who go to Mbarara, Bukarasa, Mukono, and Ruwero. But now, in these 22 zonal offices, we offer A to Z of land management services from the area land committee, which is in the district, in the sub-county. The surveyors are there, the registrars are there, the physical planners are there. Even the title is issued from these zonal offices. You no longer have to come to Kampala. Secondly, the other beauty with this technological innovation is that now we have a trail. Whoever works on this computerized system, we can now trace back.
You know who has worked on which land?
We know who has worked
and at what level it has reached.
And what time, and therefore it has played a big role on our side. So apart from reducing crowds at our offices, apart from reducing turnaround time, yes, I know many of you will say that we still have delays, but we are working on it and we have improved. Apart from records getting lost, we now have a way out. Apart from revenue lost to government, I can tell you, if we tell you the figures. So then land conflicts, oh my God, they have gone down by half. My brother there was saying that the population has grown and etc. Yes, even people are now more aware. In a young place in Chonjojo now, you can easily walk on to Kawarore Emuzo and check, and you know, it has come with its own challenges, but I can tell you that it has resolved many more problems.
So when you get automated, you also open yourself up to cyber criminality. So I can imagine, Lenin, that's your area. How safe is the automation process from cyber crime?
I think
you can wake up one day and they'll wipe you off.
Yeah.
Stone Age.
You also realize that when you become a target of cyber crime, it means that you offer something of value to the community. But I'll take you back to our implementation period. For the past about 10 years, we've been doing everything in more of a closed door without having to operate within the internet, which of course reduced on our risk of being attacked. But as you've heard already, that we're now slowly beginning to roll out the services to the public, which means the use of the internet, which exposes us to risks of cyber threats. But of course, from a technical angle, as a ministry, one, this data is highly encrypted within our systems. For the data that is fed to the public is read-only access data. They do not have access to our production environment. So at the point when, in case they succeed to have an attack on our public platforms, what we are sure of is that the data in the back end is not compromised. But of course, we also have put in place different mechanisms like data recovery sites that we are hosting with the government entity NITAU, that is in the National Data Center, whereby if our primary data center is by any chance attacked, we will be able to switch to the secondary data center without actually having to worry about that.
The bad guys are listening. Now, Chris, when the Ugandans are interfacing with you or this system, exactly what normally what are they looking for? What do they want? What services are they coming for in most cases?
There are several services that different people are looking for in this system. You know, first of all, if we look at the gurus who are involved in real estate, one of the things that they want to discover is the land available? Is it secure? So that is a different lot of people. There are also entities, for example, expropriation entities. When you look at the road networks, UNRA and so on, UETCL, there are also interests that they have in the system. They want to be sure that their corridors are not being taken away by, the land dealers, these speculators. So they are also secured in the system. You can also look at the restricted corridors. We're talking about the wetlands, we're talking about the NEMA corridors. So they also would like to ensure that...
So you have the whole country marked up?
Exactly, the whole country is marked up. And we're receiving layers from the different MDAs that we're putting into the system.
But that's also a possibility that you can bring in speculators, because they know where is what and maybe what is going to happen.
Yeah, but there are systems that can keep them away. There are systems that can lock out any suspicious, any manipulative activities. We have those secure systems. So it is a system that serves across board what we can say entire spectrum of land administration, land management, the built environment. So all these MDAs and different stakeholders are served in the system.
So, but today I can imagine you're facing an existential threat as a profession, because if the work is simplified like this, as a lawyer, you're going to do research. Guys are just seated at their home and you're doing everything by themselves. So this thing is eating into your core profession, isn't it?
Well, what can I say? If you're not prepared, you're gone, you're finished. Like I said, with globalization, the world is evolving. If you must continue existing, you must evolve with the world. This system is not unique to Uganda. In the West, it's already operational. For example, in the UK, the solicitors there are registered as licensed agents, and they're working. The populace is still working through them. So maybe to encourage my fellow practitioners, you have to keep innovating. You have to be dynamic. You have to be agile. You have to be adaptive, because this system is good for us. The technocrats are here. They will tell you issues of double titling now, no more. Double plotting now, no more. If you're going to do due diligence, snap, you move as fast as possible. Court cases, ease of business, why not? So for me, it is not a threat. For those who are not prepared, it is. And maybe I must call upon Minister of Lands to increase their sensitization drive. we have a wonderful system in English. Maybe they will tell us at a certain point when we are going to have other languages added, like Swahili and maybe Luganda, to make it easier to use. Like they said now, 22 zonal offices, decentralized, but is that enough? Is it user-friendly?
Okay, because now what you said before we take a break, it looks like you could be having something very good. It's making a lot of sense, Chris, but you can end up making sense to only yourselves and not the targeted audience of Ugandans. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the Hot Seat. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest might have Commissioner Johnson Vigida, right?
Yes.
I have Mr. Chris Tembo, Senior Staff Surveyor and Chairman of the Standards Committee. I have Lenin Victor Owonyu, Head of National Land Information Center, and we also have Council Deo Kalikumutima, Managing Partner Kalikumutima and Company Advocates. And we're trying to answer the question, are the technological innovations in land management a solution to land conflicts? Now, gentlemen, I want to move away from this and to the real issues that people face. When you look into Uganda, the land question is such a huge question. It's a very emotive issue. There's a lot of land grabbing going on right now. And areas of Kayunga, Mukono, and Wakiso, it's rampant. Commissioner, how does this help in stopping what is our biggest problem, which is land grabbing in Uganda?
Thank you. We have many instances of land grabbing. And a grabber is not an owner. Okay, he is a grabber. This system, it enhances the security of tenure of any owner. Okay? Now, this other indiscipline of people who evict others, normally they have nothing. Or they have connived with some administrators, some old people, and they come and want to chase off people off land. Those are criminal acts, okay? And the different administrative arms of the law address that. So, unless you are telling me that these grabbers now come with authentic documents to claim ownership, which is no. A grabber, and these are manipulative people, okay, who come.
So the information system will show that they are not, they have no ownership in this area.
Yes, and we have been able, by the way, to expose many people. I am happy you have seen many instances where my minister, Honorable Mayanja, Honorable Nabakoba, and they have gone and they have been able to resolve these conflicts because we have the information.
But Chris, we have a case of absentee landlords. It is common in areas of Mubende, areas of I think Kagadi and many places. People have settled on big chunks of land. The owners are stinking rich. They are never there, and yet they don't have really real ownership. So how are these people catered for in this system? The squatters.
There are some provisions to cater for those people who have occupied land. First of all, we have the provisions of verifying the bona fide occupants, the lawful occupants, and they are protected. However, the government has also gone ahead to have what they call the technological reforms. So we have, first of all, the land fund, the land fund. So government has put in place a provision of buying such land and enable the people who are occupying, to have a good title over the land.
To buy from the absentee landlord.
So the problem with the absentee landlord is really, I would like Commissioner to come in on the issue of absentee landlord.
Because I think that's also a big thing here in the central region, isn't it?
No. Yeah, it's true. But now, government again has also come to intervene to establish the relationship between an owner of the title and a sitting tenant in many of these areas, many in central Uganda, in Mitiana, in Luwero. We have now established a relationship, and now the sitting tenant can be given a document as evidence that he or she is an occupant on that land and is recognized. Although we also recognize the title owner, depending on how long you have lived on that land. But also, as my brother Tembo has said, is that the government has also now engaged willing seller, willing buyer in many of these areas in Bunyoro, in central Uganda, where many of these lands, are heavily occupied by people who don't have titles. So government has a policy through the land fund to pay off the title owner, then legitimize or regularize the interest of sitting tenants. So they have not been abandoned.
Okay. Explain to me the issue of giving security of tenancy to somebody who has been on a land 12 years or more, because I understand the law, if you've been there, it gives you some kind of security, right? If I am occupying this land, but I have no title, and the landlord is absent, does it give me legitimacy on that land?
And yes, it does. For you to qualify to get or have that interest, you need to have been on the land for 12 years before the coming into force of the 1995 Constitution. Then we have the Land Act coming into force in 1998. Now, strangely, today we have people who jump onto land. 1 year, I'm a squatter. No. For you to have that protection afforded by law, 12 years before the coming into force of the 1995 Constitution, the law affords you an equitable interest. So we have two interests existing on the land. The legal interest, that is the landlord.
So that's the legal part. It's legal, it's lawful, but it's really right. Even if you've been there for 12 years, does it make it yours before the 1995 Constitution?
You see, now we have the legal and the moral.
Okay.
From a moral perspective, maybe not. From a legal, that is the law.
But the law qualifies it, unchallenged.
Yes,
with the consent of the owner.
Okay.
So well, strangely, the law is debatable, because we also have the concept of adverse possession, where someone can jump onto a piece of land for as long as they are there uninterrupted. That is it. You must recognize their interest. Is it fair? Is it interpreted to be fair? No, it is not. But that is the law. So our concern is this is abused, even by the people who are supposed to be enforcing the law. A trespasser cannot be classified as a Chibanja owner, yet they jumped onto a piece of land 1 year, just because they have some sort of protection.
So Lenin, I want you now in your discussion to paint a picture for somebody, to work with somebody who's listening to you, because I want you to, the features of the public portal, for example, how to search for land records, verify ownership, or conduct a land transaction online. If you can explain, somebody maybe is on the portal now.
Thank you, Patrick. For some reason, the lawyers took over the show. It left us the technical people learning more about it. Yeah, well, the system is can be accessed in two ways. It is a web-based platform whereby you can access the system through a browser or over your laptop, over your tab, under the URL of ugnlis.go.ug, or you can access it through the different mobile platforms. You can download the application from Google Store or App Store. They are literally, you really need just a simple creation of an account for you to be able to access the system, and at a fee payable through different payment platforms such as mobile money or a credit card. You can actually search for one land title and ownership details. You'll be able to search for that, and at a fee of 10,000 shillings. I know most of the people are wondering when we say that you can now do a search at 10,000 shillings. And they are saying, how is that possible? Because most people have been paying over and above 100 or 200,000 to actually make a search. But we are saying over the online platforms, you should be able to make that search at 10,000 shillings. You're also able to see the shape of your land. If you're interested to see, maybe you have a small dispute with your neighbor, and you just wonder what is the shape of the land. You can actually, at a fee of 10,000, just go and we'll give you the shape of the different pieces of land that the argument is on. You are able to verify, because we are looking at issues whereby people want to verify ownership. So that report will be able to show you who is the owner of that land, what is the acreage of that land, what encumbrances on that property, but most importantly, what transaction is being carried out on that land. For example, if I went to buy a property and I want to quickly check, and yet the seller is already doing a transfer on that land, this portal is able to show you. But most importantly, we want to tell the listeners that in the coming few weeks, we are also going to attach the picture of the owner onto the portal. So the portal is as simple as download the app, make a registration. The payments will be done through a mobile app. We have the videos guiding people on actually how to register that are going online.
Chris, very briefly before we take a break, can this portal also show me some kind of virgin land somewhere with no owner?
I think that would not be the responsibility of the portal, but in case you are interested in that, we still have some features in the system. Maybe you can look at the auto photos, and of course, if it is overlaid with the parcels, then you can, you can see the land. But Patrick, today is very difficult to talk about virgin land. There is no virgin land. Almost every piece of land, there is someone who claims responsibility to it, either government or private people. So maybe you're talking about virgin land in terms of usage, it has not been utilized.
I wanted to know in terms of ownership.
So in terms of ownership, it's really quite hard to find land where there is no owner today. Of course, you find we have what we call the Uganda Land Commission, responsible for all that land that is not claimed by anyone. It goes to government. But I can assure you, I don't know how much land they have in that regard. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to take a break. When we come back, my producer will open the line so that Ugandans who are listening tonight can also have an opportunity to have it. Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the Hot Seat, and my name is Patrick Kamara, and now it is the moment when you can also have your say. I already have some callers on line. I have a caller. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Patrick. Thanks for that show.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
You're talking to Ekode.
Ekode, go right ahead, sir.
Yes, I have two questions, one for each guest in the studio. I want to start with the council.
Council Deo.
Council Deo. You know, we had the issues with the judiciary. When they come to make a judgment about land issue, sometimes they could make a judgment could not favor whom we think to wants in because when people have money, they can easily go with such cases and they take the land. Now, my question to the council: if the judges don't go on ground before they make, because he said that the digital one can easily help the judgment, the judge to make the judgment without going to the what? The ground. For me, I think it's going to be a very big mistake. Let these judges move out from their SC. They go on the ground. If they have their digital platform which has come on board, they verify. They be on the ground and they see before they make a judgment. Then two, to the other guest, we had a report of Kasari Bamugerere and her team. That report, because all guys were very happy to do the things for discovery, what's happening in the east of land. It's so unfortunate that when it was handed over to the head of state, the public was denied to see the recommendation. So I want to ask him, these ideas they are bringing, are they following those recommendations which the public is denied to see?
Okay.
Or it's just from the Minister of Land which they are bringing on board?
I think the commissioner can be able to respond to that. Mr. Kode, thank you so much for your questions. I think I'm going to entertain maybe 3 or 4, then my guests will respond at once. I have another call online. Hello.
Juma Busega here.
Mr. Juma in Busega, yes. Go right ahead with your question or comment, sir.
Thank you very much. To me, point to talk a little. Uganda Land Board. Uganda Land Board, they are on duty. Uganda Land Board, they are becoming like UNBS who can attach any sticker on any
product.
Any items which is being manufactured in Uganda. At the end of the day, these are the toxins. There are some toxins. There are some which are not valid for the community, for the consumers. Now, Uganda Land Board, mushrooming of these blockers. Where are they getting those permits to run business of land? There are some lands which has issues, but you'll find these blockers, they have already issues out land title. Where do they get land title? And some of them are even not educated. giving them the go-ahead.
Okay, sometimes land titles are issued when in areas where they shouldn't be issued, and so I think he's wondering how do they get those land titles. I have another call online. Hello.
Hello, good evening, Bonaparte.
Good evening. What's your name, sir, and where are you calling from?
Good, my name is Innocent. I'm calling from Kira.
Innocent in Kira. Go right ahead, sir.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank you and from KFM for hosting the guests in the studio. I think that's been very informative.
Welcome.
Now, my question goes to the gentleman, Lenin. He has ably explained how we can access the system, the different versions, the web and the mobile app. But I'm just concerned about my grandmother down there in the village in Bukedea, who does not have access to a mobile, to a smartphone, even not being able to afford the internet. There are options that are being looked out for. For example, option of the USSD version of the system to allow these people who have these feature phones down in the village to be able to access the service. But I think they would benefit quite a lot for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I think I'm going to, in the interest of time, my producer is telling me quite a number of you would want to ask questions or make comments, but we can't be able to do that because of time. So probably, Commissioner, you go first, and then Council. Also, Council, remember, there's a question coming in from Dr. Hilary Semana, who says, how easy is it to access the land information that you are talking about? And he thinks this is going to be, the lawyers are going to benefit from the search fee. So you can add that question also to the earlier question.
Thank you, Patrick. I respond to the gentleman who raised an issue of the Bamugemere Commission. Yes, the Commission did its part, made a number of recommendations, and the powers that may be, I'm sure they are looking at them and how they can implement them. But even before the government takes a position on those recommendations, also as a ministry, we have been fixing gaps here and there. So, yes, the Commission of Inquiry unearthed many things, and we have had time to reflect on ourselves also as a result of some of the issues which were exposed, and we have had to, fix the gaps even before the recommendation of the Bamugere Commission are implemented. Then Juma was talking about brokers having titles and etc. Brokers, these are private people. They are not employees of the ministry. And how do they get titles? And if those brokers or any people come with titles which are contested, we have grievance redress mechanisms. And the law allows us also to have mediation processes through public hearings. And where we have found people at fault, we have addressed their challenges. Okay. Others which are beyond us, we normally send them to court. So nobody should have a disputed title. A title in itself, a title is a title when it's a good title. But a bad title, there are mechanisms and channels to challenge them.
Quickly, they will go through the issues.
Thank you. I'm going to respond to several of the issues. I'll start with the issue of locus visit, the need for judges to visit contested land. I want to clarify that I did not state that with the system, the land information system, it is no longer necessary to go to the locus, to the land. It is very necessary. The Chief Justice issued the practice direction. Unfortunately, it is not mandatory for judges to visit the ground, but it is at their discretion. We have over time implored the courts to make it mandatory. Then on the issue of search fees, there is the fee that goes to government and the fee that goes to the lawyer, the professional fee. We need to distinguish the two. Then on the issue of titles issued in the wrong places, this is where the aspect of environmental management comes into play. Titles in forests, titles in wetlands, those titles should not be there. I believe they are issued irregularly and illegally. I am glad that Ministry of Lands is in the process of cancelling most of them.
Okay, Lenin.
Yeah, thank you very much, Innocent from Chira. I know your mother in Bukedia, and she actually has a smartphone. But that's a very important point that you raised. The system is a living system. This is the first product we are rolling out to the public. We have a number of numerous products that are coming in. SSD functionality is one of them. But we have also, as earlier on communicated by the Assistant Commissioner, we decentralize most of these services. And our plan was to decongest as much as possible how many people go to the ministry zonal office to access this service. So for now, what we have decided to do is to remove those who have access to smartphones, to be able to verify their information without having to be there. But we are working on solutions that will favor people from deep in the villages.
All right, let me ask Mr. Chris Tembo to give us the concluding remark tonight.
Thank you, Patrick. I just want to let the public know the system has been put in place. It's doing what it's designed to do, but we're encouraging as much as possible the public to use this system. There are proposals to enhance this system better, and we're going to benchmark more on the feedback that we get from the public. There are so many things that are coming in the future. We want to integrate with as many MDS as possible. We want to integrate with the KCCA, NEMA, all those stakeholders that constantly use the information from the system. So we encourage those who can access the system through the public portals to do so. And then those other people who want to process titles, please use the system. Our people are ready to serve. And please, whenever you get any problems, there are mechanisms for you to get back to us.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for the time you've given us. Brigadier Johnson, Assistant Commissioner Land Registration, thank you so much. Chris Tembo, Senior Staff Surveyor and Chairman of the Standards Committee, thank you. Lenin Victor Wunyu, Head the National Land Information Center, and Council Deo Kalikomutima. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for your submission. And for you, the listener, I want to thank you for the privilege of your company. And that brings us to the end of the next edition of the Hot Seat. I can now hand over to Miss Naluoga, standing by with KFM News at 8. Good night and good night.